How for all you've done to your bodies. It's still real to me, damn it.
He is the new World Wrestling Federation heavyweight champion from Iran, weighing in at 268 pounds. Here is the Iron Sheik. He is the...
Hey, lots tonight.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to It's Still Real to Me. Guess what? I remembered the name of the show this week. So it's starting off on a good note already.
Hey, yeah, Bronny.
We got the cast of characters here tonight. We got QB1, the one that makes it all possible for us. How's it going, man?
Got a shirt on.
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
Yeah,
There we go.
it's a lot better than it was 5 minutes ago.
Yes, I will agree.
We got the other cast of character with us, Mr. JJ. Jeremy Johnson, how's it going?
It's good. It's good, guys. Very good to be on here with you tonight.
Good deal. Fair warning for everybody. Jeremy's got all sorts of background noise, so there's no telling what you might hear. So don't think nothing about it.
A camel, and then like the TV,
Yeah.
and then a panther, and then something else. I don't even know what.
I mean, you name it, it's back there. I mean, you may hear the Sheik saying America. Phew. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, Japarandi.
So as y'all can tell already, we're going to be talking about a tribute show to the Iron Sheik. Easy for me to say. Last week, unfortunately, we did one with superstar Billy Graham. Hopefully, this will be the last one we have to do for quite a while. It comes in threes when it comes with wrestlers and everything else, because Mansoor actually passed away, I think, last week before last. So, his claim to fame was being managed by Jim Cornette for 2 nights. So, so anyway, we'll get the show started with the.
I don't think we can get a tribute show out of Mantar though.
Yeah, right. No. So we'll get this one started. I would say his real name, but I'm sorry, I can't pronounce it.
Vaziri.
One more time.
Vaziri.
Yeah. Khosrow Vaziri.
Okay, he was born March 15th, 1942, passed away June 7th of 2023. Later became known as the Iron Sheik, that he's most famous for, and he came with that name at just the right time to make him famous with everything that was going on in the political world overseas. But we'll get to that shortly. Jeremy, we'll let you get us kicked off about the Iron Sheik.
Well, I mean, in my young, at the time when the Iron Sheik came to my, wrestling life, of course he was with Nikolai Volkov, but what a great heel. The timing was perfect. He capitalized on something, and he played the part perfectly. And and we'll get into that. I'm not going to get it, but every great baby face needs a great heel, and so I'll stop right there. But what a great heel Khosrow Vaziri was as the Iron Sheik.
All right, Randy, your thoughts.
Jeremy, I wanted to do this so bad because I do a bad impression of the Iron Sheik, and I always loved he was such a heel. I pride myself on my wrestling knowledge, and when we decide to do these, I dig a little bit. I found a movie which is posted on RiverCity-Media right now that's about 90 minutes. I started this as a salute to a good wrestler and somebody I like to make fun of. I ended this in tears.
Yeah.
It's a his life is a tragic story, and you know, and I don't know that the Sheik didn't get over on all of us at the end, because if you believe what that movie says, the Iron Sheik of the last 15 years, the crazy guy, was making a check off the internet being the crazy guy.
Yeah.
And I think the Iron Sheik worked us, because the Sheik in that movie was a caring husband and a broke-hearted father. And that's a lot of the story, but we'll get there later too. But Jeremy already stole the words from me. Every good baby face needs a heel, and without the Iron Sheik, there is no Hulk Hogan. We talk about the people that made Hulk Hogan. The Iron Sheik, in 3 seconds, made Hulk Hogan what he is and what he was in the WWE. And there's even some controversy about that when we get to it. I think he got some pressure not to do the job for Hulk Hogan. So we'll get there.
My first question is going to be to both of y'all. I guess mainly toward Randy, because me and Jeremy's about the same age, and we learned about the Iron Sheik about the same time. But is the Iron Sheik one of the very few people that never was a good guy?
I don't remember him ever wrestling one day as a good guy, except his whole first 4 or 5 years of his career. And that is something. Let's start there. I got a video clip I'm going to play from the Iron Sheik. I want y'all to watch this, and I'm going to go off camera so I can find this. And watch this. This is the beginning of the Iron Sheik. Guys, that's the Iron Sheik. Drop kick. Belly to belly suplex. This is in Florida Championship Wrestling. Before the birth of the Iron Sheik, Howie, he was a failure. He was in the class with Jim Brunzell, Greg Gagne, Ric Flair, and him. That was the class. He said it in that video. And he had been Olympic wrestling coach in 72. Mm-hmm. After 72, Vern Gagne takes him. He wrestles as, listen to this, guys, first 4 years of his career till 76. He wrestles by his real name in an American singlet. Like, with the American flag on his chest as good guy, Khosrow Vaziri, and gets absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
At the 76 Olympics in Montreal, Vern Gagne's wife walked up to him and said, well, Khos, do you like your position in wrestling? And he goes, no, I'd like to be a little more prominent, because he was just kind of a sideshow. At the same time, he's winning AAU championships and still making a wrestling career. And after that, in 77 is the birth of, and I'll show one more picture and turn it over to Jeremy, the very first version of the Iron Sheik. Hossein the Arab, the Iron Sheik, was the name he went by. And I saw him wrestle as this character. He was still 180, still wrestling amateur, no big belly. Has went into the Iron Sheik character a little bit. He's a heel, but look how young he looks. Look how young he is. And then soon after that, there is Brady Bunch and the Iron Sheik in their first run together. So that whole first part of his career, Howie, nobody knows about. And you have to kind of research it to even find it. Again, that movie is posted on RiverCity-Media. It's 90 minutes, and I would suggest everybody go watch it. Jeremy, did you know about this part of his career?
Yeah, I actually did. I knew he trained with Vern. I knew he began his career wrestling under his real name, basically. And the suggestion was for him was to model his gimmick, so to speak, after the Sheik, the original Sheik. And I guess that's where the first iteration of it was from the picture that you showed.
It looks
So
on it.
so so I will say this about Khosrow early. Most people are going to remember the 270-pound big belly, large man. But as you showed in the video, super athletic, amateur wrestler. If I'm not mistaken, wrestled in the Olympics. I think you may have mentioned that earlier.
Olympic coach. He was not a U.S. citizen.
But
he won a national championship in Iran, and he also won national championships in the U.S.
Championship wrestler. In Iran, yes. So super athletic, really a specimen, to be honest with you. So, he had all the skill there, but again, back to getting over, you got to have the right gimmick, and he found the right gimmick.
And to answer your question, Howie, the Iron Sheik, not Khosrow, the Iron Sheik that was born in 1977, never said one good guy thing till his death in the public forum.
That's for sure.
He got a late start in his professional wrestling career, and that kind of hampered him a little bit because he was in his 30s when he got started.
Yeah,
that was kind of unheard of back in those days.
Well, he had been in the Iranian military and been a bodyguard for the Shah of Iran, who was the leader of the Iran.
Yeah,
come to America in '71, and really didn't break into wrestling until around 73 and 74, that little run that wasn't super successful. And Howie, I may be wrong, but I think he was born in 42, maybe.
See, I've got it right here. Hold on a second. He was born in 42, yes.
Yeah, so you're talking about he's going to camp with Vern Gagne at 29 years old.
So let me, since we're right here, let's talk about that for a minute. So he was a guard for the Shah of Iran. His hero, and I'm gonna do my best to pronounce his name, but he was an amateur Greco-Roman wrestler, which wrestlers were held in high esteem in Iran. But his name was I'm gonna do what I can to pronounce that. But his last name was Takti. And that was his idol. And so he wanted to be like Takti, and he was revered among the people of Iran. And one of the things that really caused Khosrow to exit Iran was the fact that, and I remember this also from the A&E documentary. If you haven't watched that, that's fantastic also. But he talked about the fact that Takti was so revered among the people that they were at a meeting where the Shah was there and Takti was there, and people were chanting Takti's name, and Takti ended up dead. And he said he knew then that if Takti could end up dead, so could he. And he realized that he needed to find a way to get out of Iran. If I'm kind of repeating that correctly.
Yeah.
So,
I read a similar story. I didn't hear all of that.
Yeah.
But he I think Taki, when he came to America, he found kind of his muse and a wrestler named Abel. And if you go listen to his Hall of Fame speech, he kept talking. He talked more about Dan Gable than anybody that he wrestled. And finally, he started going, "You new generation, you talk about Kurt Angle in 1971. We talked about Dan Gable And he went on about Dan Gable. And during the Hall of Fame speech, he didn't spit on anybody.
Not even Hulk Hogan.
Not even,
that jabroni Hulk Hogan.
There's even some controversy whether him and Hulk Hogan really hated each other. And I think he worked us all.
I think he worked us all. And to his credit, he understood what he was doing.
And you just brought up a point that I was thinking of. As a heel, a big a heel as he was, you don't hear any wrestler say a bad word about him.
No.
And it's always great stories that you hear about him because of he just lived on a different level as far as, the first drug test that he took, I think it came back positive, and he thought, oh, yes, I'm positive, yes. He thought that was being a good thing, but come find out it wasn't.
Yeah, I heard that one too.
So,
the person that I truly think this man hated was Andre the Giant. And he did despise Andre the Giant. And he gets very personal about how Andre the Giant treated his fans. And he's like, everybody hated me, but I never pushed the kid away and said no to an autograph. And Andre the Giant was the ultimate good guy, and he wouldn't stop and sign for the children. There's probably some truth to that.
Yeah, probably. But, back to some of the recent things that have happened. I saw a video recently about, I think, Rhea Ripley, and people running them down in the airport. They're running a tough schedule and running them down, wanting them signed, 5, 10 things, when what they're going to do is they're going to turn around and sell that and try to monetize that. And, that kind of stuff, man, it's uncalled for, really, to be honest with you. So you don't know what the situation was there.
You don't.
And also with the Sheik, comparing him with Andre, Andre stuck out like a sore thumb, and everybody ran to Andre. Sheik could walk through the airport and kind of get away with it.
Howie, and we'll stop here, and then we'll get back in. There's a big run in the NWA. I think the Sheik, listening to his stories, is a really nice guy that really, really wanted to be loved. And all those years of being hated, I think he was man enough to take it. But one of the great pleasures in his life was what Jeremy said, being backstage and watching all these other wrestlers flock to him. And there's a tribute on there on YouTube from Rocky Johnson that was evidently played at the Sheik's funeral. He talks about, I didn't know Khosrow as the Iron Sheik. I knew him as Uncle Sheiky, and if you've watched The Young Rock, the Iron Sheik's character is throughout a main part of this show. So I really think this was a complicated man that I truly didn't understand until we decided to do this show. And I'm glad I've done the research. Now, am I gonna do away with the Sheik imitation? I bet you your jabroni ass I'm not gonna do. But and that's a tribute to Sheik. But as hated as this man was, he is loved by everyone that sees him that was in the business with him.
Yeah. So you contrast that with someone, and again, not trying to speak ill of the dead, but somebody like the Ultimate Warrior, who was extremely popular, extremely over. Everyone loved him, as far as fans are concerned. But then everyone, I very rarely hear anyone who worked with him speak highly of him.
No.
So not even our local podcaster, and I say that laughing, Conrad Thompson, I actually heard him tell a story of how he tried to rip him off trying to purchase a belt. I think it was the Intercontinental belt recently. So, again, it's an act. It's his job, and you know who you portray on TV is not who you really are. So, um,
Yeah,
I,
oh, go ahead, Jeremy. I'm sorry.
no, it's fine. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, he got started off by teaching and training some pretty good wrestlers
Yeah,
themselves with Ricky Steamboat and Greg Gagne and Jim Brunzell, and then he actually decides to move on to the WWF at the time for as they call them, baseball, quick cup of coffee. He was there for about a year. Then he went to Jim Crockett Promotions. Randy, you want to go into the Jim Crockett Promotions part of it?
Before we go there, that training time,
yeah.
drove the ring truck for a year. Drove the ring truck, Minneapolis to Chicago to Denver to North Dakota to South Dakota. He paid his dues to be there. That's where I got to know who the Iron Sheik was. He was in Crockett. He was in Florida for a minute. And he kind of done his NWA rounds. I saw him on the Jim Crockett a little bit. Very good wrestler. Very about the time he was at Crockett was when the Iranian hostage crisis was going on.
Right.
That instantly got him way over. I actually saw him in the early 80s as the national heavyweight champions on WCW back then, or Georgia Championship Wrestling, when they would wrestle through Chattanooga. And that was not the Sheik that was 270. That was still the Sheik about 235. So I always remember that. And then Crockett is where he wrestled Rocky Johnson. And it's where The Rock kind of becomes a part of his life.
Mm-hmm.
And also where The Rock learned the word jabroni.
Jabroni.
In the dictionary, credit to Rock. And in his funeral presentation of Iron Sheik, he goes, "The word jabroni's in Webster's dictionary belongs to no one but the Iron Sheik."
Yes.
So I thought he was a wrestler. I thought he had a really good act. I never thought he was a future world heavyweight champion. I just put the belt on that bad of a heel, Jeremy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you talking about early at that point, I think, you talked about seeing him. I think he held the Georgia Championship Wrestling? Was it the TV title? I think he held that. I thought this was interesting. He lost that title to Ronnie Garvin. Now, I would have loved to have seen that match, and maybe it's available somewhere. But he lost that TV title to Ronnie Garvin, kind of ending his stint there in Georgia Championship Wrestling. So I I would have never thought, you'd put, it makes sense though after the fact when you think about Ric Flair having that NWA World Heavyweight Championship as a heel, and what made it so interesting was the baby faces trying to get over the hump, trying to beat the cheating world champion, the dirtiest player in the game, and it could have worked with Khosrow. I think it could have worked, especially if you got, I mean, gosh, I know they hooked up later, but Sergeant Slaughter was out there. Sergeant Slaughter. You had Don Kernodle, who was a Olympian, if I'm not mistaken. I may have that completely wrong, but he kind of teamed with Slaughter, I think, at one point as an American and kind of that red, white, and blue type thing. So, yeah, it would have been interesting to see him as a world champion that early, for sure.
Yeah, I just thought I remember him coming in and out, and how he was really a territory guy. He'd had that stop in the WWF, then he went to all over the place. I mean, he never was, and I think he was trying to make a living. Interestingly enough, he settled his family in the Georgia area, though.
He did.
He lived to this day.
So let me ask you a question, Randall and Howie both. So uh, at that time, you talking about him being a territory guy. We've already talked about he was in the WWF from what 79 to 80. But at that point, what wouldn't you consider the WWF a territory at
Yeah.
that point? I mean, we're just minutes from it becoming more than that. But wouldn't you? I think you could you really consider them a territory at that point?
Well, they were still a member of the NWA, Jeremy,
Yeah.
even though they had their own world champion. I think
Yes.
81 or 82 that Vince Jr. walked into the NWA meeting and resigned his membership and told them that basically he was going to buy everybody. So,
And he did.
and he did.
And he did.
I don't think it's funny that he had that cup of coffee, went away, and then they brought him back a much seasoned. And I think Vince Jr. he has high praise for the McMahon family, and I think they saw the ultimate heel who needed maybe some seasoning, even though he leaves in 80 and he's 30 something years old, but he's only been wrestling 6 or 7 years. He gets another 3 or 4 years solid in the territories, and then they bring him back to New York.
So go ahead. I want to jump in when you finish your thought, Randall.
I was going to tell the story when he got back the first time. He had a gun pulled on him. And Jimmy Hart and him. Jimmy Hart managed him in Memphis. He said that they had a father and son bring a gun to kill him. Hart. So
they took it serious. Kayfabe was really alive at that point.
It was real. Go ahead.
No, so the question I guess the question I have is gosh, old age kicking in, and I may have lost my train of thought there. But think about, you said he needed some seasoning. He left, he went away, and then he came back. So we see that even now with some wrestlers. So I know they've got the performance center and they develop, young up and comers, and they put them through their program and everything, and that's all great. But we've seen that, and I think the first thing that came to mind when you were talking about that was Drew McIntyre.
Yes.
So Drew McIntyre brought in as a prodigy, signed by Vince McMahon. I wasn't a fan at all. I didn't think he had anything at that point. He gets released and he goes out and he really makes a name for himself in Impact, Independence, and then he finds his way back. And now he's on the upper. I won't say he's main event right now, but he's upper echelon, and he's noticeably different. Of course, he was younger. Time and everything plays a factor in that. But then you got somebody like Cody Rhodes right now. So Cody, young, signed right away. He had a good run, to be honest with you. And then he goes away and he wrestles in ROH, and then he wrestles Independence, and then he wrestles in Impact, I believe, even, and AEW. And now he comes full circle back, and he's a different Cody Rhodes, and they're doing documentaries on him now. And he's a main event guy. And anybody that questions that, just listen to the crowd. He's a main event guy, whether you like it or not. Vince went to his house to sign him instead of him coming to Vince's house. So it still worked back then. Guys needed get away, find their own identity, be confident in who they are. They come back and they can be a better pro in the WWF, WWE now.
Well, I just want to play this short video, and then we'll go back to Howie to lead us to the next step.
The new World Wrestling Federation Heavyweight champion from Iran, weighing in at 268 pounds. Here is the Iron Sheik.
Hey, Jim Cornette, our hero, says that turn the channel, Heat, and then you don't take your eyes off of it, Heat.
That's right.
That's don't take your eyes off of it, Heat. How dominant, 6 foot, 268. And he was much smaller than like Hogan and Backlund, but you never doubted whether he could beat either one of them.
Well, his gimmick with the clubs, all that's legit strength. He's a legit athlete, and I just want to say when I'm watching that, how important was Classy Freddie Blassie to his introduction there, and as his run there in the WWF.
Only held the title a few days, but that's one of the rare films. And that's off of the YouTube. Nobody had it copyrighted, but if I let it go 1 second longer, I think we'd have been in trouble. I'll put it that way.
Hey, we're rebels. We like to live on the edge.
If you'd heard that, we would have been dead.
It's one of those deals where he started out, like I said, a cup of coffee in WWF back in 79, 80, went to Crockett Promotions in 80, 81, Mid-South in 81, 82, Championship Wrestling from Florida in 82 as well. Also in 82, Georgia Championship Wrestling from 82 to 83, and then from 83 to 87 is when he caught on fire.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And let's go to the Iron Sheik because of the fact of what was going on with the Iran controversy going over, the hostages and everything else. And he hit it just right because of America, USA against Iran.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was instant heat right there.
And would say anything.
Well, he could say anything back then because everybody's not
politically correct.
Babies.
Yeah.
Everybody's not babies back then. You didn't get your feelings hurt as much back then. But him, having the title, then losing the title to someone we'll talk about here in a few minutes, that he basically made his career. We've hit that point a little bit earlier. But after he lost that belt, became a tag team partner with Nikolai Volkov, which ended up being Iran and Russia, which the U.S. had issues with. And that was just even more heat on that's more gasoline on the fire there. So let's go to the match that made, can we say it's the match that made WWE so popular with Iron Sheik against Hulk Hogan?
It's of the Rock and Wrestling Connection. Mm-hmm. That night is Cyndi Lauper, Captain Lou, Dave Wolf. It is the birth of Mr. T in the WWE. It was the birth of Vince McMahon's WWE. That's the right word I would use, Howie. Vince McMahon's WWE. And hey, there's a controversy in it, and I'm gonna shoot this out there. The Iron Sheik loved Vern Gagne. Loved him.
Mm-hmm.
Hulk Hogan had just left Vern Gagne.
Yes, I know where you're going.
There's rumors that Vern Gagne called the Sheik $100,000 to break Hulk Hogan's leg and not give him the world title.
And bring it to the AWA.
Bring it to the AWA. So in the Sheik Hall of Fame speech in front of the McMahon family, tells this story, and then he goes, but I loved Vince McMahon, and I told Vern Gagne I would not double cross Vince McMahon, even though Hulk Hogan was a jabroni. And the way he said in his Hall of Fame speech. So I think we talk a lot about work. I think Khosrow, the friend of Vern Gagne, had an offer to destroy Hulk Hogan that night for a sum of money.
Yeah, and because Vern didn't take that well.
No,
that Hulk left, and he was going to make Hulk the man in the AWA. So I could I could totally see that, and I'm not hey, look, if any of Vern Gagne's family listens to this, I'm not accusing. I could totally see it though.
Let's on the same tone. Starrcade '82, Vince McMahon offered Harley Race $100,000 just to no-show it and bring the NWA title to the WWF. Out of mouth, said it. Vince McMahon called me and offered me 6 figures just to no-show and show up on WWE TV with the NWA World Heavyweight title. So if Vince McMahon was willing to do it to the Crockett's, Vern Gagne was willing to do it. And the Iron Sheik would have beat the living snot out of Hulk Hogan.
Legit, yes. If we were talking about legit, yeah.
Legit beat the snot out of him.
Yep.
But
so let me ask you the question then, Randall. I'm sorry I jumped in here. So with that being said, had that happened, where would we be right now? Sheik beats Hogan, breaks his leg, brings the title to the AWA. Where are we now?
We're still in territories, I think.
I don't know.
I still think Vince McMahon gets it done, Howie. I think it takes longer. But I think the Hulk Hogan character is replaced by 2 or 3 people I've heard talked about. One was last week's tribute, and he brings Billy
Superstar
back. The other one would be somehow he gets Dusty Rhodes away from the Crockett's. Makes Dusty the Hulk Hogan character. Because at that point, nobody had more charisma than Dusty. But I still think there's so much money coming in to New York in Madison Square Garden that I still think he gets it done. But Howie, to your point, I think the territories last a lot longer.
Yeah. Maybe only delayed the inevitable. Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe maybe the Von Erichs are still in Dallas. Maybe.
I may be totally wrong, but I think Hulk Hogan and Iron Sheik has something in common with Freddie Blassie. Did he not manage both of them?
Yeah, he did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How ironic is that?
Very.
I think that was another reason that Sheik got in the ring that night and put the title on Hogan and sold for him. That match is short and he sold his butt off, Howie. And to McMahon's credit, he didn't let the Iron Sheik go anywhere after that. He kept him there and kept him well until him and Duggan got caught. Him and Duggan out feuding all over the country, get caught with some toot, driving over
riding together.
And he had no choice but to fire him at that point.
Yeah.
It's interesting with Iron Sheik being the heel that he was. And for the ones that don't know or don't remember, he wore boots that turned the toes up to a point. But with him being the heel he was, he never used them in a match like he probably could have. If you think about, as a heel using something, a foreign object or whatever, you think there'd be some way that he could have used that to benefit himself, but he never did.
Well, he never needed to, though, because the heat was so real. And, you got to remember, he's not like, Nikita Koloff, who's supposed to be from Russia, but he's from Minnesota. This is Khosrow. Khosrow, he's from Iran. He's legit from Iran. And he actually drove for the Shah or was a part of the Shah's protection. So, he never needed it. I don't think he needed it.
And then it even just got worse when he teams up with Nikolai Volkov in '85.
It did.
Randall, let's go ahead and hear that national anthem of the Russia again.
I do know I had that pulled up. Hold on, give me just a second. I was looking. I have it on my thing here. Yeah, you knew I was going to play this at some point.
And by the way, this song was not the actual national anthem of Russia.
Butter.
This time, the challenger to my left from the Soviet Union. To my right, his partner from Tehran, Iran, weighing 258 pounds, the Iron Sheik. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Volkov requests
That's so good.
and respect his singing of the Soviet national anthem.
Saluting Madison Square Garden over his face.
Going nuts, throwing stuff.
I can't go any farther. I'll start getting copyrighted material, but and the Sheik just standing there saluting, not moving.
Yeah, it's probably one of back to having great heels to make great baby faces. Now he moves from a singles competitor to a tag team competitor, and my goodness, what better pairing could you have had?
And won, if I'm not wrong, won the WWE Tag Team Championships at the first WrestleMania. I believe that they were on the first WrestleMania and win the titles.
Yes, they did.
So
They beat Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda.
Yeah.
The U.S. Express.
Ironically, who else would you beat for the tag team titles? The U.S. A young Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda.
And for me, his finishing move, the camel clutch, the way he would get behind them and they'd be laying flat on their back and he would do that little, I don't want to call it a walk, but I also don't want to call it a strut either, but he would get up in there. Yeah, do the mustache. I forgot about that, but yeah, he'd do the mustache and then get up there and throw those arms across his legs there and just reach back and crank back on the people's back real bad, you know. So I don't know if there's a better finish for anybody than the camel clutch from somebody from Iran.
No, not at all. I think everything about this, and I'm using the term gimmick, but I mean, he was legit from Iran. That he shaved his head when he began to take on this character. The mustache, the gear, the boots, the wearing the turban or the headdress or whatever. I don't know exactly what they call that, but every part of that gimmick was to me was spot on.
Yeah, and the main thing I think you forgot to mention was he carried the Iranian flag to the ring.
He carried the Iranian flag, which it's not a stretch. It's not a stretch for him, even though he left Iran, and probably left maybe thinking, hey, my life, I might not be safe here.
Iranian flag with Ayatollah Khomeini painted on it, which is like
it's so good. And that, I mean, how about he was, he was thinking to put this whole thing together.
And he could do that because he wasn't scared of nobody because of his military training, his security training and everything.
And there was a legit reason to be scared because if I remember correctly, his family, they had to duck out several times and kind of go into hiding for fear of legit, was threats upon their lives. So that's how serious us American wrestling fans take it.
Well, I mean, yeah, they was after him, but look at how many times that they went after Jim Cornette too. But he had that racket to try to tennis racket, try to help him.
Well, he deserves it. We all know that he deserves it today.
He's funny though. You can't deny that. But
Reggie's Corner.
And the thing I hate so bad is what I miss is the occasional tweets that I don't know if Iron Sheik was actually doing them or not, but whoever was doing them was doing a great job.
I don't know. They were gold.
The jabroni love the American. You love the Ultimate Warrior. The Ultimate Warrior. He's a piece of trash, and he could roll his R's. There you are. Just so good, so good. God rest his soul.
So this. Go ahead, Hal.
No,
go ahead. So this tag team, and again with Nikolai, that's my first remembrance of the Iron Sheik. I came in right in this neighborhood, right after he had the title. He lost to Hogan. So this is all stuck in my mind, as a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, somewhere in that neighborhood. Those two, and you legit, you like, man, I hate those guys. I wish somebody would beat them down. It's nothing like the suspension of disbelief and thinking, feeling like something's legit. And those guys, they came across like they were legit.
Right. And he was also, I'm trying to make sure I say this right, but he was also on Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling, the cartoon series, and he was the only heel that was on there, if I ain't mistaken.
I think Volkov was on there with him.
Could have been. Yeah, it could have been both of them. But I'm reading right here where it says where it wasn't even his real voice. It was someone else that did the voice to the Iron Sheik.
Yeah.
Could you really let Khosrow on a cartoon?
On a cartoon?
Yes.
It'll be serious editing going on. I know that.
Yeah. And worked in MFers like Michelangelo couldn't paint.
But he had a great career, and he, like I said, he hit it just right at the right time with the right. I'm not Jeremy. I don't say a gimmick because it's his real life. He hit it just right.
Yeah.
And then it like I said, it added gas to the fire when him and Nikolai Volkov got together and tagged up and won the championships, and it just he hit it just right, and it's just one of those things where certain wrestlers will hit it just right on certain times, and he was one that did that. Do y'all have any closing remarks before we move on to something else?
Yeah, I got one thing to say, Howie, and I need to say this. The Iron Sheik, if he was here with us, the thing he would tell you he was most proud of was his lovely wife who was with him from 1971 on, and 4 beautiful daughters.
Yeah.
His oldest, Marissa, was actually tragically murdered. And even fellow wrestlers talked about how it changed the Iron Sheik at the end. And, we're all dads here, and we all have baby girls. And I don't care if they're grown or not. His daughter had no life and evidently had started training a little bit too. And just was dating the wrong person, a very bad human being. And I think the Iron Sheik, in watching this documentary about him outside the ring, Howie, and I'm not talking about the character, the Iron Sheik now, I'm talking about the real life man, was a loving husband and wonderful father. And that's the legacy his wife talked about. and provided a wonderful life for his family. The American dream was actually the Iron
Yeah.
Sheik.
Well, and to add to that, and I think the death of his daughter, I think it caused him to, spiral a little bit, get a little out of control, his
Very
drug
open
use.
fiction.
Yeah, he was very open about that. And the great thing is that he kicked that, to use a wrestling term, he kicked out of that and was able to get the turn the nose up, for lack of a better term. But he was able to overcome that. And that's what I gathered from the things that I've watched, the things I've seen about the Iron Sheik, is that, about his family. He's a very, very much a family man. His daughter's very important to him. And, that's at the end of the day, no matter what we accomplish, our greatest task is raising our kids and trying to help them get off on the right foot and guide them. And so, credit to him for making that a priority and for fighting through a lot of the things that he did, fight through drug use and everything.
I literally went from wanting to do this so I could have some chuckles to tears reading the story of this man's life. So,
Yeah.
so do I believe a good man and a good father? So,
Yeah.
I wanted to say that before we moved on.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Salute.
All right. That was a great show, guys. I've been kind of looking forward to the Iron Sheik as well, because that was one of the first true, I guess, wrestlers that I remember seeing and watching. Me and Jeremy's kind of in the same boat as far as
Yeah.
not growing up with cable TV and had to watch what the 3 local channels would show you
Yeah.
if you had opportunity to. And fortunate for us, for me for sure, and I think Jeremy's in the same boat, WWF was the only one that we could actually watch.
Yeah.
And seeing the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov and Freddie Blassie walking them to the ring, and
Man.
and the Iron Sheik would be walking the aisle and get in front of one of the loudest and craziest fans with the flag and just start whipping it right in front of them, because he knew whoever jumped over and tried to whoop him, he'd whoop them twice as hard.
Hey, we didn't even mention his greatest rival, which is Sergeant Slaughter. In the
Yes.
in Madison Square Garden, one of the most violent matches I've ever seen. So, and Slaughter inducted him into the Hall of Fame. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
But that was a great pairing,
yeah.
the American hero, the GI Joe versus the the
And later together, Colonel Mustafa
Yeah.
Slaughter during the Iraq U.S. war when
Yep.
they turned Sergeant Slaughter heel.
And it's one of those things where also, if the timing is just right between him and Sergeant Slaughter as well.
Yeah.
Timing is everything when it comes to wrestling.
Yep.
Yes,
I
is.
agree with that.
And so
Hey,
it just worked out.
hey,
So I will add right here, it's really, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but it makes me, uh, I guess, sad in a way, when you start seeing men like the Iron Sheik and people you grew up on, and they were either heroes or they, villains, whatever the case may be. But you see these guys start leaving us, for various reasons, and it's really sad because, like for me, when when some of these guys leave, when they die, when they leave us, if I feel like I'm losing a part of my childhood.
you
I
know,
don't know if that makes sense, but that's the way I feel. I feel like part of me is part of my childhood is dying. You
Right.
know.
one of the great things this show is, Jeremy, you're talking about one of the great things this show has done for me is forced me to go learn about the person behind the character, though. And
Yeah, I love it.
I really did not know. I did not know. I hated the Iron Sheik. God,
I did too. I mean, I got a Ronald Reagan shirt on. Of course I did.
To find out this guy walked in the 72 Munich Olympics with the U.S. Olympic team, the 76 Olympics in Montreal. You have a hard time putting that together in your head until you do this show. Folks, I challenge you to go. If anybody watches this, go watch the link on RiverCity-Media. It's Inside the Sheik or something like that. It's 90 minutes long. It's one of the best wrestling documentary I've seen. Even better, on par. I'll put it on par with the A&E documentary.
Yes, seen them both. They're both very good. Yes.
You know, you said Sergeant Slaughter inducted him into the WWE Hall of Fame. If him and Hogan didn't have their side money bet going on, do you think Hogan would have done it? I think him and Hogan I think they were actually friends, and I agree with. I think Jeremy said it. It's just, or Randy, one of you said it. It's just a work. It was just a work from.
Oh yeah.
Day one.
Totally.
The only thing about it is, I think in 2005, when he got inducted, Hogan was on the outs with McMahon. So I don't know that he could have and went into the Hall of Fame. I would have loved it. I tell you, I'd love to see him induct him. Bob Backlund.
Oh yeah.
You know, now, they're the same guy. One's American and one's Iranian.
That's right. The same guy.
Yeah, and we didn't really talk about the strength. I think Jeremy brought it up, but the strength that the Iron Sheik had, we talked about it a couple shows ago. You got weightlifting strength, and you just got country boy strength, and the Iron Sheik just had the country boy strength.
Yeah,
he's just country strong.
I think those clubs were 70 plus pounds each, and he made that act look very easy. And I don't know if you guys have watched the Hidden Treasures WWE special, and they had Bob Backlund had a set. Yeah, and he, because he was the only one that was able to halfway do what the Sheik did. And so you had Top Dollar there, I think, at the time, and how big he is. Francis, Francis, his last name, but he couldn't do it. A lot of strength.
What was that? One of the deals that the Iron Sheik did was, if you could do the club thing, that he would give you a set, and he only gave one set away, and that was the.
And I think it was the Backlund. Yes, I think that was he was the only one that got a set of those, and that's why he had them. And they were trying to, of course, on the Hidden Treasures, they were trying to buy those from Bob. But yeah, so, and I think they had video footage, and I don't think he did it very well, but he did do it.
Well,
so,
you know, I know you and Howie wasn't alive then, but Backlund losing was earth-shocking. He'd held that title for years, 6 years. And then you're like, what? The Iron Sheik beat Bob Backlund? But by the time the news got out, the Iron Sheik beat Bob Backlund, Hulk Hogan had beat the Iron Sheik.
Yeah. But Iron Sheik was a great transition.
Yeah.
Because I believe maybe Vince had a plan, and he knew he wanted to make Hogan this, white meat babyface American, all American guy, and you can't beat, you got to beat a heel. You got to beat, and who better? Nobody on earth would have been better at that point than the Iron Sheik.
Last thing I'll say tonight and wrap it up. Hogan, you jabroni! I spit on
So good times, man. Good times. That was great wrestling back then.
Absolutely. Guys, it was a great show. Iron Sheik, I can honestly say, one of a kind, that was a heel for life, basically, but yet everybody loved him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any closing remarks? I'm sorry, Randy, what?
Most popular show that we record. If you watch this show, you've got to be a wrestling fan.
I know, right? If you're watching us at all, you're a real wrestling fan.
So, Randy, any closing remarks?
Just love your children, man. Never regret anything you do for them. And felt bad for Khosrow, the man who lost his daughter. You could tell that was very rough. And as a dad, the thoughts that any dad had watching that would be, oh God, I don't know what to do with that. So, can't wait. Hopefully, we don't do another one of these. What are we going to do next week?
Well, let's get Jeremy's closing remarks real quick, and I'll tell you.
Well, again, I'm just going to repeat myself basically, but again, great baby faces need great heels, and I really don't think there's a greater heel to ever have been in wrestling than the Iron Sheik. And again, part of that was timing, but part of it was there was some legitimacy to his character, and he knew how to capitalize on that, and he capitalized on it even till the day he died. And we talked about his Twitter, and I started following him late in the game because of the entertainment value, and so he understood wrestling, and credit to him for coming from a country like Iran, making a name for himself, raising a family, had his challenges, had his mistakes. All that has been documented well, but another legend that has left us.
Absolutely. Yep. So, what we're going to do next week is we're staying in the wrestling, of course, because this is a wrestling show, but we're going to step away from the wrestlers for a minute, and we're going to go with the top 10 all time.
Uh-oh.
No, did Howie just messing with you?
I mean, that's usually what happens to one of us. Usually it's me. And I thought, here we go. All over again.
No, the top 10 commentators of all time.
Oh, I love it.
Well, let me
get
our pencils together and do some thinking on that one.
Howie Cheney wearing the crimson mask.
Step away from the wrestlers and go to the commentators, and sometimes it's the commentators that puts the wrestlers over.
I tell you what, Howie Bundy, you don't need that mess around here.
I love it.
Join us next week when you might hear Randall Cunningham say,
I spit on you, you're a commentator, man.
For Jeremy Johnson, QB1, I'm the Howie Cheney, and it's still real to me. Good night.
He is the new World Wrestling Federation heavyweight champion from Iran.